Rain poured like silver tears over the city, drenching the pavements and washing away the dust of another cold evening. Kane stood under the dim light of a broken street lamp, his jacket soaked through, his shoes torn at the seams. His little daughter, Jenny, clung to his leg, trembling from the cold. In her tiny hands, she held a paper cup half filled with coins she had collected by singing softly near the metro station. The world seemed cruel and endless, and Kane, a once proud man with dreams of being more than a janitor, now found himself counting each coin to buy a loaf of bread. He looked up at the tall glass building before him. Cross Enterprises, one of the city's most powerful corporations. Behind those glowing windows sat people who never had to worry about hunger or humiliation. And among them, on the very top floor, was Linda Cross, the woman who had once been his classmate, his secret crush, and now, the ruthless soul everyone feared. Before we dive deeper into Kane and Jenny's heartbreaking yet powerful journey, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances. These simple actions help stories like this one reach hearts that need hope today. Kane never expected to see Linda again. Back in college, she had been smart, ambitious, and kind, or so he thought. But time and power had turned her heart into ice. When Kane was fired from his factory job and started working as a janitor at her company, fate cruelly tied their worlds together again. The first time she saw him scrubbing the floor outside her office, she didn't even recognize him. The second time, she did, and smirked. Kane tried to avoid her gaze, focused on his work, and swallowed his pride each time her heels clicked past him. But Linda began to take a strange pleasure in reminding him of what he had become. "You used to dream big, didn't you?" she said one afternoon, her voice sharp as glass. "Now look at you, wiping the floors where I walk." The other employees laughed softly, and Kane lowered his head, forcing himself not to reply. He needed this job. He needed the money for Jenny's medicine. At home, in their tiny one-room apartment, Jenny never complained. She would smile, braid her worn-out doll's hair, and tell her dad, "It's okay, Daddy. One day, we'll live in a big house with windows that don't leak." Those innocent words broke Kane a little more each night. A week later, Kane's life took another cruel turn. Jenny fell sick. A high fever, weak breathing, the kind of illness no father should face with empty pockets. Desperate, Kane went to the HR department to ask for an advance payment. They refused. Then he went straight to Linda's office. She was sitting in her leather chair, surrounded by luxury. Her perfume faint but expensive, her red heels resting on the desk, her diamond bracelet catching the city lights. "Please, Ms. Cross," Kane said, his voice trembling. "I need help. My daughter is sick. I just need an advance. I'll work extra shifts, anything." Linda looked up from her laptop slowly. There was a flicker of recognition in her eyes, maybe pity, maybe memory, but it vanished quickly. "You want money from me?" she asked, leaning back in her chair. "After all these years, you're still begging?" "I'm not begging," Kane whispered, swallowing hard. "I'm just asking for a chance." Linda rose and walked toward him. Her expression was unreadable, but her tone turned cruel. "Tell you what," she said coldly. "If you really want money, clean my shoes. Right now." Kane froze. Linda tilted her foot slightly forward, her glossy red heels glimmering. "And if that's not enough," she continued, her voice like ice, "kiss my feet. Do that, and I'll give you the money. Maybe I'll even marry you. Wouldn't that be poetic?" The poor janitor marrying his rich boss. The silence in the room was suffocating. Kane's fists tightened. His pride screamed. But then Jenny's face flashed before his eyes. Pale, feverish, breathing weakly. Slowly, painfully, he sank to his knees. His vision blurred with tears as he took out his cleaning cloth and wiped her shoes. The entire office, watching from the glass walls, went quiet. Linda's smirk faltered for a moment, perhaps realizing the weight of what she had done. But Kane didn't kiss her feet. He stood up, his eyes burning not with anger, but with something pure, dignity. "Thank you for reminding me," he said softly, "that I might be poor, but I'm not worthless. And I'll never let my daughter see me crawl for help again." Then he walked out. That night, he took every last coin from his pocket and paid for Jenny's medicine. He quit the job the next morning, leaving behind a letter that read, "I hope one day you find the peace that money can't buy." Months passed. Kane took odd jobs, washing cars, delivering packages, fixing things. Life was hard, but slowly, Jenny got better. She started school again, and Kane never stopped encouraging her to dream. You can be anything, he'd tell her. Just never be cruel. Meanwhile, Linda's empire began to crumble. The board discovered financial misconduct by her CFO, and investors pulled out. Rumors spread about her heartless leadership and toxic office culture. The once untouchable CEO suddenly found herself alone, betrayed by those who had once flattered her. One evening, driving home through a rainstorm, Linda's car broke down near the old industrial district. Her phone had no signal. Shivering, she stepped out, and through the rain, she saw a small garage with light inside. She knocked on the door and froze when it opened. Kane stood there, wearing a grease-stained shirt, holding a wrench, and smiling faintly. For a long moment, neither spoke. Linda's voice trembled when she finally said, "Kane." He simply nodded. "Come in. You'll catch a cold." Inside, Jenny was sitting at a wooden table, doing her homework. She looked up and smiled brightly. "Hi, Daddy, who's this?" "An old friend," Kane said quietly. Linda watched as Kane wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, poured her a cup of tea, and calmly started fixing her car. The garage smelled of oil and warmth, but there was peace here, something she hadn't felt in years. Watching Jenny laugh softly, seeing the small drawings of rainbows on the wall, something inside Linda cracked. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Kane," she whispered, "I was horrible to you. I don't even know why I did it. I thought power made me strong, but it only made me cruel. I don't expect forgiveness, but I'm sorry." Kane looked at her gently. "Everyone makes mistakes, Linda. The real strength is admitting them." She stared at him, the man she once humiliated, and saw not bitterness, but grace. For the first time, she understood that money and pride were worthless without humanity. She offered him a business proposal, not charity, but partnership. Together, they started a small repair company that grew quickly because people trusted Kane's honesty and Linda's management. As time passed, Jenny came to see Linda not as a CEO, but as someone who had learned to care. And one evening, years later, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, Linda smiled at Kane across the workshop and said softly, "You never kissed my feet, but you taught me how to stand on my own." He smiled back, "And you helped me rise higher than I ever dreamed." Their story became a quiet legend in the city, a story of forgiveness, redemption, and second chances.